your latest biography mentions some kind of double approach towards the record, with you rediscovering classical music and getting more and more into it, and you rereading and rediscovering yourself Jean-Paul Sartre's The Flies. Seems like these two elements contributed to the record in a big way. Can you explain this a little further?
Well, while we were recording some of the songs for Loved, Jim was writing some other music as well, which had a different atmosphere. And for most of the songs for the album, they were quite upbeat and bright songs, I think. And the other music that Jim was writing was more kind of classical sounding, and it's very dramatic. And so it reminded me of this play that I read when I was learning French. And so I just kind of read some excerpts from the play over the music, and we spent about 3 weeks on that, and then we went back to record the rest of the other songs.
And how does your creative process usually work? Like, you come up with a riff, you come up with a piece of lyrics or ideas, then you mix it together. How does it usually work?
It's probably quite a slow, gradual process. Usually stems from the music first, probably 90% of the time. And then if Addy gets ideas to sing or whatever over the top, then we sort of work the vocal idea in with the musical idea and arrange it so that it all fits together.
Sometimes ideas for the words come from the feel of the music, and I think with some of the songs this time, I had a feeling that the music had a sense of movement and of motion, and so quite a lot of the songs have got a theme about being on a journey or about leaving something from your past behind and moving on into the future.
And how about the soundtrack on Scarborough Ahoy? Was that the first time you worked for a soundtrack, or had you done it before?
No, we've never done anything before. A lot of people had always said that our music kind of or some of our music lent itself towards film, and indeed a lot of sort of images actually influences me to write in the first place. So, but it was a real learning experience doing that. It took quite a long time, and I wrote quite a lot of music for it, and quite a lot of the music wasn't used for it. And the way it was cut onto the film, I think it was different writing from a different perspective, because you kind of have to not just write what comes to your head, you have to write for the film. So it was quite a different thing to do, and quite enjoyable as well.
But how does it work? Are you shown pieces and bits of the movie, or are you shown the whole thing and then you have to write after that?
I had a tape with just the numbers at the bottom, so I could roughly. I didn't have it synchronized to the recording equipment or anything, and just I spoke to the director, and sort of she gave indications where she might want music or where she wouldn't want music, and just sort of went from there and sent her tapes as I was doing them.
And she knows our music quite well as well, so she had an idea of some songs that she would like to use from the past, and so it was a combination of a couple of songs from this album that we used into the film, and some other music that Jim wrote especially for certain scenes, and so it kind of happened over about a 6-month period. The music slowly came together for the film.
And how about the British music scene? It seems like Great Britain has not had much to give, at least to the so-called rock scene, to the rock business, for quite some time. For us, it's also pretty hard to understand what goes on because of the lousy music media you have in Great Britain. So, what's your opinion?
It seems to be everyone in the world realises just how, as you say, lousy the media is in England, apart from the people in England that are running it, which is quite a shame, because I mean, everywhere we travel, people say the same, and we agree. I think that the English music scene or the English music press is shooting the bands, like in their head. The attitude is just not as good as elsewhere. I think English people, a lot of them, a lot of English bands and journalists consider England to be the centre of the universe as far as music goes, and it's not. It's as simple as that. So
we've always felt like we're kind of a bit outside of the music scene in England, because we've never really been totally part of each of the scenes that come along. So I hope we can sort of carry forward in our own way, really, and just have our own identity.
Every time I read one of your reviews talking about identity, the journalist strives to find the right adjectives to describe your music, and you know, they vary from moody to introspective to ethereal, blah blah blah. So would you spare me that tough job and tell me which you would say are the prevailing feelings in your music, or the feelings that mainly inspire you to write or rehearse or try out songs?
I think
it's a difficult question.
Yeah. I think we are very emotional as a group, and so it's usually extremes of a mood, and either we try and sort of be optimistic about what we do, even if there is a feeling of sadness in the music. We're usually trying to look forward to something, and some people have said the music is I think in the past we were probably quite spacey and quite filmic, people have said, and but with this album I think the songs are a bit more defined and a bit more song-like. Yes.
How about you, Jim?
Well, I just think we try to have a balance and a contrast between, like, say some of our songs are a bit more down than others. We do try to balance it by having sort of, maybe not happy songs, but more up-tempo songs. And I think there are sort of probably 3 or 4 different types of song, which I said earlier on today, in fact 3 or 4 different types of song, which, like a heavy song, you know, more orchestral sounded song, and you know, and so on and so on. And I think we try to have those contrasts within albums, and sometimes even within certain songs. We try to put our sort of 4 elements in.
It's good if you can move from a song or a part of a song where there's a lot of distortion and strong sounds and strong drums and things, and then it suddenly turn into a different song altogether, and there'll be a sense of space or of gentleness or something. So we kind of sway from one thing into the other and have contrast of moods and things.
Ok, noi ci fermiamo un attimo per dare un'occhiata a Shining Road, primo estratto nonché canzone d'apertura dell'ultimo album Loved. Torneremo dopo il break pubblicitario ancora con i CRANES, nonché Lush.